Hey guys, hey, it's Katie over at Lunar Ray Wellness. How are you? I am so proud to be with you guys today. I do have a funeral later this afternoon, so I won't be super online for a little while, but it's okay because we all realize that life is a circle, and I know that the person who passed away, I know that they are in the realms with the higher spirit. I believe that she is with God today, and that is all that matters to me because we all want our family to end up in the higher realms, not in the lower realms. So she's vibing high, y'all, and that's all that matters to me. Anywho's, I am going to be doing a message today about mullein flower, or mullein plant, whatever you want to call it. It is a flower, but in the same aspect, it's velvety. It's not something you want to put on your kitchen table, and it doesn't really smell like anything that you would assume would be related to a flower. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get going, okay? Now, I always do that, y'all. I always do that. I always do it. I'm like, oh, let's get going, and then I've got to smoke cleanse and whatnot. So, let's light our Palo Santo first. I do have my incense going, though, already. I'm using my 7 chakra incense, the one that's supposed to align everything. I'm gonna light my Palo Santo, let it go. Now, I did want you guys to know I will have a reference to the Bible. We're gonna be talking about in the book of Numbers, where the Lord talks to Moses, or Moses, don't let me lie to you. Yeah, the Lord spoke to Moses about the budding of the mullein flower and all of that good jazz. So, Spirit guides, ancestors, Christ and divine, thank you for coming to me in this time as I do this message with whoever's on the other side of my screen. Please let them be blessed with whatever information that they need to better support their well-being or just for their happiness and entertainment. I don't know. But welcome. I miss and love all of you guys. We're always bringing love and light to my channel, and I'm glad that you're with me today. So let's go ahead and get started. So the mullein flower or mullein plant is known as Verbascum thapsus, and this is what mullein looks like, okay? So it's definitely a velvety plant, but it's not really a plant that I think someone is going to be like, oh my gosh, I need that as the centerpiece on my Thanksgiving spread. No, it's not like that. Matter of fact, whenever it's dried, it looks like this. So this is what mullein, it's hard to kind of show it on the screen, and I don't want to pour it out because it gets kind of messy, but it looks similar to what you would see as like a basic tea, okay? It looks like oregano or maybe parsley. Well, it's not as green as parsley, but I don't know, catnip maybe, if you guys are familiar with catnip. It looks similar to that. But there are so many versatile uses for this plant. Now, the native heritage for this plant, or where it comes from, is going to be Europe, Africa, and Asia. And it typically, as we saw in the picture, it typically forms a rosette of leaves down at the base of the plant, okay? And they can grow anywhere from 1.6 feet tall all the way up to 9.8 feet tall to 10 foot, okay? Now, aside from the weirdness of how it grows and all of that, what can we use it for? So it is an antiseptic and antimicrobial plant, and it also has things that help with lowering your blood pressure and inflammatory responses in the body, as well as having a diuresis effect, helping with urinary tract symptoms if you have a UTI or if you have any kind of kidney stones. the way that the kidney stone process works is the moisturizing effect from the plant on the inside. And then the two most common things that you may learn or have known about mullein is that it's really, really good for respiratory issues, and it's really good for wounds, especially if you use this as a poultice with the fresh leaves, very much so. Now, we said that the leaves are velvety covered, and some other common names for this plant are things like feltwort, fennel flower, or blanket leaf. It's also known as bunny ears or Aaron's rod. And Aaron's rod is where I will go kind of into the Bible here in just a minute, because if you come to my channel, you realize that I am very universal whenever it comes to spirituality, but I feel like God is who I serve as my higher power or my divine, okay? And I'm not hating on anybody who worships anyone else. It's just that's my forte. That's my thing. But I really want to cover more about the medicinal properties of the plant first, okay? So it says, since the Middle Ages, the mullein flower has been used as a tea to help with soothing irritated mucous membranes, especially congestion and breaking up phlegm. Now, the way that this helps with the respiratory system is it's going to cause that moisturizing effect, okay? So it's going to stimulate fluid production in the lungs, causing an expectorant effect. Now, if you don't know what an expectorant is, in the medical community, an expectorant is kind of like Delsum or some sort of cough medicine, okay? And it's going to cause your lungs to react, where it's going to stimulate you to cough, okay? As a matter of fact, what I had learned is that mullein leaves help tone the lung tissue, causing you to be able to, it's almost like it prevents things like pneumonia, or it definitely helps relieve bronchitis and things, but those are just, I don't know, mullein is very versatile. It's also been seen as a combination with an herb called skullcap or St. John's wort. So if you've ever heard of St. John's wort, there are a lot of risks involved with that, especially if you're on pharmacological therapy from your providers. But it's a really good nervine medication, helping with any kind of nerve pain and neuralgia that you may have, especially if you are a diabetic patient. This can be really good for neuropathy pain and even with Bell's palsy, okay? Because what it does is it acts on the nerve pathways, causing an anti-inflammatory response, and it's also an antispasmodic, allowing your connective tissues to get a little bit of relief by loosening up a little bit. So even if you have a lot of, maybe you have plantar fasciitis or something, your tendons in your feet are connective tissue as well, and so this could be very helpful if you're having that issue, okay? Now, moving on to more of the wound treatment and how that works is with the leaves being velvety, okay? It's going to cause almost like a plug effect over a wound, okay? And so just like you see with like, if you're medicinal, you may know what Coban is, or you may know what a 4x4 is, or something like that. And it's a lattice work on this gauze pad or on this rolling gauze that you're using. Now, with mullein itself, okay, you're going to have almost like a natural absorbency pad. I guess like if you, in women's health, a maxi pad, okay? It's going to have this effect to stop the bleeding, okay? And there are so many there are so many different flavonoids and antioxidants and things like that that are going to be able to act naturally on your wounds to slowly start this relieving effect, okay, of your wounds. It's going to heal things. And especially if you are a diabetic patient, or even if you just have high blood pressure or hypertension, okay, if you have a lot of stasis ulcers in your legs from where your blood is not flowing, or if you are a congestive heart failure patient, you would understand what this is talking about with these stasis ulcers, right? A lot of times you can crush these leaves up, mash them up, or like beat them up, cut them up, and you can also put this as a barrier on your legs to help with the infection, okay? And so not only is it going to be a natural alternative, so if the world goes to crap, okay, and you need something to help with a major cut, laceration, or wound, this is like your natural first aid for that, okay, guys? So be on the lookout for mullein. It's so beneficial. And in Oklahoma, it grows freely on the sides of the old highways and things. But be cautious with this plant. You can utilize this externally and you can even ingest it. But the only risk that I saw, because there wasn't really even any risks associated with certain medications like I normally see, but the only risks that I saw was not to ingest the hairs that are on your mullein leaves or the seeds itself, okay, because they're toxic and you shouldn't consume them. But you can use the leaves and you can use the stems and you can use the flowers themselves, just not the seeds, okay, or the hairs. And I saw where someone had made a natural mullein tea in the wilderness, but they used a sock to strain out the leaves. And I actually confirmed that with one of my prepper friends. He has like his own bug out spot in the middle of the woods somewhere, but yeah, he was telling me that you can utilize this plant even better by, secreting the juices through a sock. Am I gonna strain my tea leaves from nature through a moldy old stinky sock? Probably not. Or at least not someone else's. If I was dying and I really needed it, I probably would. Because I would be taking care of myself. Because let's just face it, you guys. If the world is ending and you see me, you're not going to think that I have knowledge about plants and surviving the wilderness, okay? But we're going to go Kim Possible mode over here, and your girl going to be saving herself. Everybody else, toodaloo, folks. I'm out here to save myself. And I'm not a doctor, but you got to know your plants and your herbs, babies. I'm just saying. Oh, man, I'm very passionate today. I'm sorry, you guys. But some other ways that you can utilize this plant, aside from wound care and aside from a tea, you can take it in a tincture form, and you're going to take 1 to 2 cc's or milliliters 3 times a day. And you can also make a tincture or an extraction at home. I don't want to call it a tincture because tinctures are normally alcohol based, but you can make an oil extraction of this plant at home with olive oil, and this is really beneficial for earaches or ear infections. So if you have babies at home that typically get a lot of ear infections around the cold times because of the wind, this could be really beneficial. What you would need is the mullein flowers or mullein leaves, okay, and you're going to distill them in olive oil in a sunny window for about 2 to 3 weeks, okay? And what it'll do is the sun is going to act on the oil in a way that heats it up enough that it's going to extract the medicinal effects from your plant. And then after your 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to strain it through a cheesecloth or something. And then you're going to put it in a dark bottle, kind of like your other essential oils, okay? And then you can store it for quite a long time. Now, the thing is, though, with the babies, okay, even though that this is a plant that's pretty well universally safe for everybody, you're going to want a dropper, kind of like this, okay? So, if you have babies and they've had earaches, you know about the dropper system and how you utilize it. But you're going to do about 3 to 4 drops into your kiddo's ear every few hours to help kind of relieve some of that discomfort and pain. But just know that if the babies have tubes, this may not be the best route, okay? Because of the simple fact is, with the tubes in the ears, there's not substantial or sufficient drainage in those eustachian tubes, okay? And so you don't want it to get behind the tube or around the tube of the ear or anything like that, causing further infections or anything like that, okay? So if you utilize this for your babies, just don't do it with tubes. Go see the pediatrician, and hopefully they can give you the actual antibiotics and you don't have to worry about causing further pain or issues for your babies down the road, okay? And the last thing that I have that felt really important to convey to you guys is the topical use of this. This is one of those medicines, because of its antimicrobial and antiseptic properties. It's really good for like boils or cysts or things like that. Because what happens with, or even hemorrhoids, okay? What can happen whenever you put this salve over a boil? Because of the anti-inflammatory effects that it has on the body, it may not only help bring down the swelling of that cyst or that boil, but it's also going to ease some of that discomfort and pain. And the antiseptic and antimicrobial properties are going to be able to act on whatever viral or bacterial infection is within your body's processes, and it's going to be able to start healing and killing that bacteria, okay? And it also showed online, because I did look up some uses aside from what I had read in my National Geographic's book, but it does show that you can use this for sciatica and joint pain as well. And so I guess that just kind of goes into the neuralgia effect that we had noted, combined with the skull cap and the St. John's wort. I feel like that could be a really beneficial alternative. But you may be able to utilize this, especially if you have like arthritis pain, and you may utilize something like Voltaren gel or something like that. It could be a good alternative for you. And I don't really want to say in a poultice form. Normally, if you use a salve, it's going to have a petroleum base, or there's going to be some sort of thickening agent. I've utilized something like beeswax or something else if you're wanting more of a sturdy salve, okay? So that's just something to consider if you're wanting to try to make your emollient or something like that at home, okay? Now, I want to move back over to some more of the history, since we have touched on the medicinal, okay? So some other historical things that I thought were really cool is, I know we've spoke about Carl Linnaeus before, okay? He's like the overall Swedish physician who formalized taxonomy. He helped us utilize like the first apothecary side of deal for our healing. And he has a book called Species Plantarum, okay? And this is way back from 1753. And it listed all of the plants that were known at this time, okay? And so this plant has been so versatile for so long that even without question, I feel like I would be drawn to try to use this if my life depended on it. Just because, I mean, even in the Bible, Okay, so I told you that we were talking about Aaron's rod and how it ties into the Bible. Okay, so Aaron is one of the leaders of the tribe of Levi. Okay, and so in the book of Numbers, chapter 17 specifically, in verses 6 through 8, that's where I wanted to touch base on. Okay, so in verses 6 through 8, it says, "And Moses spake unto the children of Israel, and every one of their princes gave him a rod apiece, for each prince one, according to their fathers' houses, even 12 rods, and the rod of Aaron was among their rods. And Moses laid up the rods before the Lord in the tabernacle of witness. And it came to pass that on the morrow Moses went into the tabernacle of witness, and beheld the rod of Aaron of the house of Levi was budded, and brought forth buds, and bloomed blossoms, and yielded almonds. And Moses brought out all the rods from before the Lord unto the children of Israel, and they looked, and took every man his rod. And the Lord said unto Moses, Bring Aaron's rod again before the testimony, to be kept for a token against the rebels. And thou shalt quite take away their murmurings from me, and they die not. And Moses did so. As the Lord commanded him, so did he." So I read into verse 11, but this is seen in history, even in biblical times, as beneficial. As a matter of fact, Spirit's giving me a download right now. They used to dip these, okay, the budded parts. They used to dip those in tallow, guys. So, beef tallow, if you know, like the white stuff that goes on top of your crock pot whenever you're doing a beef roast or something, that white stuff on the top that floats is tallow. So in the old days, they utilized every part of the plant or animal if they could. And what I'm understanding from this download is they would dip the rods into the tallow and form torches. Okay, so we use candles now. Okay, I always have some sort of candle burning. But back then they didn't have candles like that. They could have, because you could utilize like nettle and make rope and wicks and all of that. But what I'm understanding is that they dip this into tallow, which is leading me into what Spirit is saying, and it's leading me to Psalms chapter 10, Psalms 1. Hold on. Is it 119 verses 109? I know that it's in Psalms 119. I think it's verse 105. Yeah. Okay, it says your Lord, verse 105. If you want to read King James Version, verse 105 says, "Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path." And the NIV version says, "Your word is a lamp for my feet and a light for my path." So what God is trying to have me convey to you through this message is that in the biblical times, this is a physical representation of God's word. Okay, this is like a light unto their feet. Okay, so that's what God is trying to have me convey to you guys today. And it actually pulls me over to my metaphysical meaning. Okay, so some of the metaphysical aspects of this plant are going to allow your intuition to enhance, as well as spiritual and communication to enhance. Sorry about that. My babies decided to come in and talk to me, but I'm still very passionate about what I'm talking about. So let's get back to it. So the metaphysical properties of the mullein flower or the mullein plant is going to help your intuition enhancement and your spiritual communication. So the chakra that your mullein is going to be tied to is your 7th chakra, or your clown chakra, your crown chakra. Okay. So I guess you kind of look like a clown if it's unbalanced, because really, if your crown chakra is unbalanced, some of the things you're going to notice about yourself is closed-mindedness. Okay, you may be rigid to certain situations or things. So maybe you have closed-mindedness to political values or certain religious routes. I have no idea. Or maybe you're just dependent on material possessions. But some of the ways that you might be able to fix those issues is working on your crown chakra, okay? And it also can help with your insomnia too. So some of the crystals that can help are these, okay? I'm going to use my big old selenite, okay? So some of the crystals that might help you with balancing, okay, especially if you are learning about Reiki or energy healing, things like that. The only one I don't have with me is my amethyst, but I do have an amethyst pendulum. So the first thing that I will cover on is amethyst, okay? So amethyst is one of those things in the metaphysical community that has been said to protect against psychic attacks or against any kind of psychic issues or cloggings. And so tapping further into that answer or that statement, it's because it ties into your 7th chakra, okay? So you see that amethyst is the color purple, okay? And the 7th chakra itself, our crown, is also tied with the color purple, okay? I actually have a lotus tattoo right here. Because if you think about the crown chakra, it has petals, okay? And the way that the crown chakra works is those little petals that spread out is the more expanded that your intuition is, okay? So just know that. And you can also meditate and affirm things. Even if you are a Christian, okay? You look at positive affirmations or inspirational quotes every day. Telling yourself a positive affirmation in the mirror is not a sin, okay? And so some of the ways that you can help unblock this crown chakra is by simply affirming in the mirror that you're open to new ideas. Because once you say that to yourself enough times, you're going to slowly start to believe it and act on it, and you're going to be successful. You just have to believe it, just like you do with, certain spiritual things. Like, you just have to affirm it and you have to believe in it, okay? Like, I could show you these crystals and stuff all day long, and you believe it because it's physical and that you can touch it. But anyway, I don't know where I was going with that. But first and foremost, amethyst. Okay, so this could definitely help you balance things. We have howlite. Okay, this is something that I got from Aura Bloom. Okay, and then labradorite, which this is a protective stone, but it has so many other meanings as well. And then selenite. Okay, this is good for charging, cleansing, purifying. And then last but not least is celestite. And celestite is interesting, the correlation, because celestite actually has a meaning behind it that has purification properties. And it's definitely tied to more of the angelic realms, okay? And so that's one thing about the celestite that I loved, and I after I noticed that this was correlated, I was like, yes, like that's so cool. But see, celestite has a luster. It is a geode style crystal, okay? It's got a cubical structure of the actual crystals in the inside. And it's overall just there to help bring up your energy and your vibe, right? So specific zodiacs that this could be tied to was Capricorn. That's the only thing that I could kind of get, is because Capricorns or Cappies are in the more winter type of months. So that's what I got from there. And it can also be used for certain teas to help with cold and flu symptoms. So I always think of cold and flu time in the fall and the winter. So, but other than that, I think that's what I have for you guys today. I know it may not have been as long as it normally was. I know that we tied into the Bible a little bit. So if that's not really your vibe, I'm sorry. I'm not pushing my religion on you by any means. I just like to show you guys what helps me kind of get through my day, and helps raise my vibrations, okay? But remember, I'm not a doctor, okay? So any information medicinally that you may have received from our word today, our message, just know that, back it up with your own research, okay? Learn your knowledge too, okay? Because you never want to just take what one person says and take it for 100% fact, okay? You want to learn and trial and error things yourself, okay? But as always, I'm sending all of you guys peace, love, and light on the other side of my screen. I love you always. And until next time, bye!